Bigfoot, aliens from outer space. There are stories out there that have haunted us for generations. Ordinary people put in terrifying situations. Sometimes the unexplained is stranger than the books we read. Do you have a story? An unsolved mystery? Lock yourself away with us for the next hour and let's talk about it. Nothing is too far. Nothing is off the table. You want to be heard? You want your story out there? Or do you just want someone to believe you? Well, then let's talk. I've got time and you've got a story. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Find the courage to call us or just listen in while we work through the stories of regular people just like you, reliving extraordinary situations. It's time to go off the record. Now we're on YouTube. But see, YouTube, that is a failing proposition. Welcome, YouTube. It is a failing proposition. YouTube is going away.
Yeah, you keep saying that.
I know. It's going to happen. I'm so serious.
So one night, we're just going to pop in the radio and nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, there's going to be a little sign on YouTube. Sorry. The last person that leaves YouTube, please, turn out the lights, that type of thing. That's what's going to go on YouTube.
It's closed on Thursday nights? I mean, Wednesday nights.
Yeah, it's closed on Wednesdays. We don't open anymore. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's the way it's got to be.
Well, we have our usual suspects in the Discord chat for Off the Record.
Thank you. Glad they're here.
So that's very, very cool.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to record it on YouTube, just to let you guys know. Yeah, you guys missed the intro. You know why? Because you weren't listening to the radio station. The radio guys, they got the intro and they got a little bit of behind the scenes, little little behind the scenes stuff because we hadn't gone onto YouTube yet. And that's important to know. YouTube is going by the wayside for this program. I think I've mentioned that before. It's going to happen because we're not going to run this in here. This is going to be a radio show only, and that's where it's headed. But once again, we bent the knee and we graciously, lovingly, and kindly put this on for you guys over here.
Did you let people know about the podcast? On this one, OTR on Spotify, what do we get?
Yeah.
Tell everybody.
Well, there was a thing. I got a little note. You get notes from Spotify as creators. They're like, oh, here's your stats, here's your stuff, and it's usually the typical thing. And sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. However, this particular note came through with a little picture, and it said, "Hey, congratulations! Your OTR Off the Record was the quickest to 1,000 downloads we'd ever had." Of all the shows we've ever... Now,
thank you, everyone.
There's other shows that are more popular on Spotify. Our podcast is night and day, leaps and bounds more popular with fans than this show. However, even the podcast did not get from 0 to 1,000 downloads as quickly as OTR. So that was on you guys for downloading that. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Now that everybody's on board, let's do I'm not going to do the intro. I already did it. I'm not doing it again. Not going to play it again. Although, you know what? I did set up all that thing. I set that special thing up on YouTube so they could see it, and then I didn't even do it.
I know. One more time. One more time. There's people that just got in here that would love to hear the intro.
Would they?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Not so sure about that. All right. Let me turn it on. I'll play it one time real quick, and then that's it. Then we got to get to the show.
Okay.
Okay. All right. That was it. No more. No more.
So KGXT radio went dead silent.
Yeah, I was going to say, I looked over there and I'm like, oh man, that means the radio's, because I don't remember how when the Zoom call was on, we did a off the record show on a Zoom call with Hometown Ghost Guys. And I was able to port the Zoom call back into the pod track, which feeds the radio station. But as I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh shit, it's going to be dead air for like a minute on the radio station because I don't know how to port the Streamlabs back in. But I bet I could figure it out. If Zoom can do it, Streamlabs can probably do it, and that way everybody can play along. We're still figuring this shit out. Give me a fucking break. You know what? You had time to run to the bathroom anyway, so you're good now, right? Good. Glad you're coming along board with me on this.
So I'm glad you cleared that up so people know that they just didn't go deaf all of a sudden.
Like they're all playing with their knobs. They're reloading the screen. What the fuck is going on in here? Yeah, you know what? If I had thought about that, I could have had you put in the Discord chat room where everybody is. I could have had you say, it's going to get quiet for a minute.
Oh, I said stand by because I wasn't sure, except that I was like, I'm not hearing anything.
Yeah. All right. So listen, I was going to start with a bunch of topics and a bunch of things.
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to.
Oh.
I think we should jump right in because the first guest that Shiloh Ferguson has on our list, I got to admit, I have never had a conversation with a person who describes themselves as an anti-deist.
I've never even heard of that.
Well, if I kind of knew what it was. I had to go look up the definition, but that's really all I did. So
just to verify that.
Well, I need to know what I was talking about. I need to do a lot of listening. I need to call this guy and do some listening because we talk about conspiracy. We talk about the boogeyman. We talk about ghosts. We talk about things. And I don't know whether this is considered a conspiracy. I mean, if you believed in God or didn't believe in God, if you believed in creation or you believed you were an atheist in the Big Bang Theory, I don't know. That's more of a discussion or a conspiracy. I don't think it's really a conspiracy. Like no one's intentionally trying to deceive somebody here. I'm not trying to deceive him. He's not trying to deceive me, unless he's going about this saying that his position on God in the Bible is deceptive. I don't know. I'm not saying he's saying that.
Well, let's give it a shot.
I'm just saying that it's an odd conversation to have. I've never had a conversation with someone who said they're anti-deist. So without me going into what I think it is, maybe we should call this dude and ask him what that means.
What's his definition?
Yeah, because I'm seriously interested in talking to this guy. I'm not trying to bash anybody. I'm not trying to look for an opening where I can harpoon anybody. I really want to know what this means. Maybe this particular one here might end up being more of an interview style. Although, if I think there's problems with it, I'll ask some questions. All right. Let's do this. We got the shop phone out and we're dialing in the code and we're dialing in the password and the password and the code are accepted. Now we have a phone number dialed in here. Bump, 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 bump. From the 509 area code. Dump, dump, dump. And it looks like did I get that right? Looks like I did. And we're hitting the button and it's going to ringy dingy. Let's see what we get. There it is. Nice and clear signal.
Hello.
Hey, is this Jason?
Speaking.
Jason, it's the General and Gen X Mom with Off the Record. We got your phone number from Shiloh Ferguson, and we were hoping we could have the conversation that you submitted.
Sure.
All right, I got to tell you, I don't, I didn't know what an anti-deist was. I had to go look it up. I was like, what does that mean? It didn't say atheist. It just said anti-deist. So before I screw it up, and I get the definition wrong for all the listeners out there, why don't you tell me what an anti-deist is and take your time and tell me why you believe it or believe not in it.
Well, I'll start with defining my definition of an atheist. An atheist, in my opinion, tends to believe in nothing. I call myself an anti-deist because I do believe that a lot of the legends, myths, and stories and dogma that goes along with religion tend to come from a source of truth somewhere.
Yeah.
But the very concept of deity in and of itself is a misunderstanding of events that have happened throughout time, recorded by the unknowledgeable in terms that they understood. And so, the belief in deity in that respect, where, whatever religion you want to define it according to, is usually defined by those myths and dogma.
Sure, by the understanding of what they know. Like some people say that in the book of Revelation, they were seeing a locust fill the sky to do battle, and they say, well, that was helicopters in his vision, but he didn't know what he was looking at, so he said grasshoppers. In that text, someone's describing something they potentially saw with the knowledge that they had of the day. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Like how, like in Greek mythology and several other mythologies, they would describe, a god riding a chariot of fire across the sky.
Yeah.
Well, what happens when the shuttle enters the atmosphere? It looks like it's on fire. Any craft entering the atmosphere looks like that because of atmospheric conditions. And so, like Isaac Asimov said, any technology sufficiently advanced appears as magic to the unenlightened.
Yeah.
There's also another quote. I don't remember who exactly said it, but it says, I would rather questions without answers than answers that cannot be questioned.
Yeah,
and
I agree
usually
with that.
In any and every religion, at some point, you will find questions that they will not answer. They will always give you, oh, well, that's a mystery of God.
Yeah, I think that I would say that if you come across questions that can't be answered, like you don't know, that's where the word faith comes in, because you don't know the answer. And normally questions like that people say Christians can't, or any religion, I'm just using Christianity, if they come up with something they can't answer and they go, well, I have to take that on faith, it's usually a question the other side of the argument cannot answer also. It's usually something like, where did God come from? Well, Christians can't prove where he came from. They just say he always was, and atheists say he never was, and neither one of them are going to prove it. So, you kind of get to a point. That is an unanswerable question, but I don't think it's being avoided. Like you said,
well,
I think if there's I think if there's questions that are avoided on purpose, if you're avoiding it saying,
true.
I can't answer that, but you're just avoiding it. I'm with you. That's not right. You can't do that. You can't skip out on a question just because you're uncomfortable.
Yeah, never be afraid to say I don't know, but I'm willing to learn.
Sure, absolutely.
And I'm always willing to learn. I'm always willing to modify my opinion, depending upon the information that I'm presented with.
Me too.
Whether or not it actually has basis in fact and information.
So let me ask you a question. Let me back up. Using one of your silly examples again. Give me that example of chariot of fire, somebody saying they saw a chariot of fire versus something entering the atmosphere. Give me that scenario again.
Well, that's from Greek mythology, a god flying a chariot of fire across the sky, carrying the sun behind him. Sure. Essentially. And we know from more modern information that, a craft entering the atmosphere would appear to be as on fire.
Okay.
We also know through, several other dogmas and several other recordings that there are things that have happened throughout our history we did not understand. Like the ancient mythologies of in Eastern India. They talk about how their gods had a massive fire shooting lights and lightning across the sky at each other, and then there was a brilliant white light, and then everything went quiet and dark.
Sure.
Well, if we look at the geological records around that period of time, we actually find that there's a layer of radiation, in that particular section of the world.
Okay.
Approximately 2,500 years ago. Why there's radiation, we're not sure, but there is nuclear radiation
and
around this.
Sure, and you could go back in time and look at a primitive culture's explanation of what they see, and it wouldn't be uncommon for them to, cast it upon a deity. I get that. But let me go back to your other one. You said in ancient Greek mythology, somebody looked up and saw something and said, "Oh my God, that's God flashing across the sky in a chariot of fire and dragging the sun along with him." All right. So if your contention is, now that we're smart and we know stuff, that was a vehicle entering the atmosphere, tell me what a vehicle entering the atmosphere back in Greek mythology times was doing.
Who knows? That's why I say that use the word craft, because what was the most common craft in ancient Greece?
Nothing that flew, nothing that went into space, nothing that came through the atmosphere. I mean,
the gods could.
Well, you're admitting somebody,
to them,
right? But you're admitting somebody saw something and just couldn't explain it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you. I'm agreeing with you. But what did they see? I mean, you can't say, well, we know today that any vehicle entering the Earth's atmosphere is going to look that way. So clearly, some dude back in Greek times saw something entering the atmosphere. I don't know. I may be a dumb mechanic in the middle of the desert, but I stand up and go, hang on a second. What did he see? What airplane was it? Or,
I'm not going to suppose any particular type of being, but I would assume that some sort of extraterrestrial being visited us, and we have mythologies that talk about beings that have visited us throughout the millennia, even dating all the way back to ancient Sumeria.
Yeah.
The ancient Sumerians didn't call the Anunnaki gods. Their literal translation for the Anunnaki was beings from the sky, or sky people.
And the weird part is that you can go back to different time periods, way back, thousands of years ago, when they first started cave painting on walls, and all over the world, there's similar drawings that these people could not have known each other. They couldn't have shared that information ever. So
True.
I do have more questions in that area. I do, because I think some things, even when you look at how the pyramids were built, and there's different peoples that built different similar pyramids all over the world. You're like, wait a second, you guys didn't get together. You guys didn't all buy the same book and how to build the pyramid 101, and everybody went their own ways. No, there's
true, but that's a separate conversation.
Sure, it's just, but
a really fun one. But.
I just think that there is a conversation to be had about, how did all these people collectively have the same answer? It's odd. But what I'm asking you is, so you don't believe, as an anti-deist, you don't believe that there was a supreme being that created everything. You believe, let me back up. I thought an anti-deist thought. I thought the belief of an anti-deist was someone who believed there was a god or a deity that created the earth, but did not leave any moral values to follow. I thought that was the thing.
No.
I must have got that wrong.
No. I believe that there are highly advanced beings that are out there, possibly millions of years older than us, seeing as by default, with our universe being so infinitely large and infinitely old, and Fermi's paradox, the mathematical equation proves out that there's, the possibility of beings elsewhere in this universe, it's based on a chronological timeline. There's a possibility that some of them are millions of years older than us, and so by default would be millions of years more advanced than us.
Yeah,
and
it's
if
a possibility.
Have visited this planet, which we have, objective, evidence of, but not conclusive evidence. I would say that what we've interpreted as gods or deity is advanced beings.
I would say that if I was to parallel your argument, your discussion, your point of view, and you were to say, look at all of the evidence for all of the years that point towards some sort of supreme being that is being misinterpreted by playful, primitive cultures, I would tell you that it is as likely, possibly even more likely, that those misinterpretations were part of a time traveler and his experiences showing up and doing things all over the world similarly, or doing things than aliens.
Possible, but less probable.
That's where I disagree. I think it's more probable that there's a time traveler situation than millions of years of aliens.
Here's the thing with time travel. Most people tend to look at time travel as something that, where we just don't know how to go forwards and backwards in it. rather than looking at space-time as a single dimension. We're four-dimensional beings. Okay?
We're very linear.
We've got the XYZ axis that we exist on, and then we move forward through space-time. Space, automatically being defined as a unit of measurement by time.
That's why I said we're very linear. That's what I meant by linear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the concept of traveling through time as we generally think about it, could be more of a dimensional thing, but not necessarily, a time travel per se.
Well, okay.
It could be advanced humanity.
If you could,
where we've been.
Now hold on a second.
Kind of like the movie Interstellar.
Hold that phone now. Hold on to that phone there, boy. I got something to say now. Hang on now. Why I threw out the term linear when we moved into time travel, which I'm fine with that. I got a bunch of $3 words when it comes to time travel, so as long as you don't use $12 words, we'll be fine. The reason I said linear is because that is when time travel, backward or forward, is on a linear scale. You're moving forward or backward. Even if we found a way, and I'm going to throw this out there, there's two things that come to mind. Bending time. Even if you could bend time, let's say you did have a DeLorean that could go 88 miles an hour and you bent time and you appeared in the past, you would automatically call that time travel in the past. Our brains would have to apply it to a linear scale no matter what. The first question you'd ask if you appeared somewhere, when am I? Where am I and when am I? Why? Because you're going to apply your time travel experience, whether it was a loop in time, a portal, or you bent time. You're going to ask, where and when am I? You're going to apply it to a calendar, to a linear timeline. So whether it's correct to say that or not, that's just how we as humans, that's how we as humans get there. We get to that point. So just letting you know that's no matter how you and I describe it, if someone travels in time, they're gonna say they traveled backward or forward, even if they really didn't. And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's generally the way it's viewed.
Yeah, and my interpretation would just be if you said, hey, aliens flew a spaceship across the sky and somebody in Greek times thought it was a flaming chariot, I'd say, yeah, there's more likely some fucking guy got on the wrong path, was this DeLorean, and was doing 88 re-entering. It was more of a time travel situation or a porthole or, a loop, something that bent time that caused it. As much as there would be, there's really no way to prove either way. You can say there's all kinds of cave drawings of aliens all over the planet for 1,000 years. And I'm like, yeah, that's the spacesuit that the time travelers wear. So they all look the same. In practical terms.
Well, let's apply some more esoteric history to things.
Sure.
The Earth and humanity, Earth being millions of years old and humanity actually being hundreds of thousands of years old, we've gone through things that we don't know. We are actually a lost and forgotten people because we don't know ourselves. Earth has gone through every 6,500 years approximately a major magnetic pole shift. And you can look that up on Space Weather News on their YouTube channel.
Yeah,
they talk about it at length there.
There's evidence that the poles they've moved quite a bit.
Yeah, but that pole shift has also come with major cataclysmic events, and we're starting to see some of that right now. It comes with tectonic shifts. It comes with earthquakes. It comes with volcanoes. There's also been extraterrestrial events where meteors have struck the Earth for a cataclysmic event. And every single time a major cataclysm has struck Earth, it's taken us almost all the way back to hunter-gatherer phase. Because, if your base needs are not being met, feed me, shelter me, and feed my family, shelter my family, then those are the things that you're going to do first. Are you going to teach the next person down the line on how to make an iPhone instead of how to hunt?
Well, sure, I would agree with that, but at the same time, before you go too far, even if these cataclysmic events were resets, I don't think we got along too far. Nobody got to building an airplane before the next event hit. Humanity.
Tell that to the Mayans.
Well, how far did they get? And if it's a cataclysmic event, how come their stuff is still here?
The Mayans actually had trinkets showing, how they had different things that could possibly achieve flight, and scientists have actually proven it out by building it at scale.
Oh yeah, and they've proven that how the pyramids can be. They've proven how the pyramids can be built several different ways other than aliens too. I mean, it's a possibility.
Well, true, and I'm not saying that anything built on Earth is by aliens. I'm saying that events that we have witnessed could possibly be aliens.
Well, the one reason
the things that we see on Earth, the Egyptian pyramids, the other pyramids, the Mayans,
right.
Pumapunku is actually 27,000 years old. Göbekli Tepe is 11,500 years old. And each time we've gone through one of these major cataclysms, it's been recorded according to the viewpoints of the time.
Do you think anybody was around? Wait a minute, hold on. What kind of a cataclysmic event could have been recorded by somebody? Like a meteor's crashing into the planet and someone starts writing really fast going, oh my God, there's a meteor just hit the ground.
Oral tradition in American Indian history talks about how there was a major rising flood and how one of their gods struck the earth with a stone knife and carved out what we now commonly describe as the Badlands of Washington State.
I don't consider that an earth-shattering event, though. That didn't wipe everybody out on the planet. The one that hit the Gulf of Mexico that formed a crater under the Gulf of Mexico, that one wiped everybody out. And I don't think we got a lot of records of people writing down what happened on that. I don't think there's much.
But it caused a minor ice age, and there's actually records. There was oral traditions from that. You can listen to the podcast "Squaring the Circle" by Randall Carlson.
Yeah,
and he talks a lot about the Clovis layer and the Badlands of Washington and how there's actually major evidence that there was a major meteor strike that, the meteor broke up as it came into the earth, and that's what caused the last minor ice age that we had.
But you said we were talking about
ice age caused a flood.
But you were talking about a global reset. That's what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm pointing out is that, okay, those events, even if they're big, there's not a global reset. You didn't wipe out the entire planet and everybody had to start over from scratch, and we all started over with hunter-gatherer stuff. That's my point. And I have to discount the Mayans completely, because I think the Mayans were assholes. Because they made that circular calendar. Remember that circular calendar? And it ended at 2012.
Yeah, but we misinterpreted it.
How do you know? How do you know we misinterpreted it? How do you know there wasn't just some dude standing there going, look, I made this calendar. It only goes to 2012. You think anybody's going to think it's a big deal? And the other guy said, nah, they're not going to care. And we cared, man. We made movies about it and shit.
Yeah, but the misinterpretation was by saying that it was the end of the earth instead of the end of an era.
What end of the era was that? The Red Sox had already run a World Series. What end of what era?
The end of the era for the shift in the Northern Star. There's the galactic calendar. And every about 12,500 years is a small tick in the galactic calendar.
Now let me be devil's.
72,000 years is a shift in the Northern Star. What star is considered the North Star?
I understand, but this is also, people would argue with you that all of these things are reverse engineered. Every single one of them. And what they mean by that is when you say, oh, yeah, it wasn't the end of the earth. Let's see, the Mayan calendar, 2012. They must have been talking about something else. Everybody, quick, look around. Did anything happen in 2012? And one guy goes, yeah, the Northern Star shifted positions. That's what they were talking about, those crafty fuckers. A lot of these things, people would argue, are reverse engineered to line up with something. Just find out 6 things that happened in 2012, give me the biggest one, and let's apply it towards what they said. That happens more than you know.
Premise, sure, but the mathematics that they knew were far in advance and actually were based more upon astronomical things, not astrological, but astronomical things. A lot of their calendar was based off of events that happened astronomically. A lot of the things that happened in their society. We only know a very, very small portion of what happened with them, because as soon as the conquistadors came, they came with the Catholic bishops, and the bishops decided to burn all the records, the historical records that the Mayans had.
Plus, everybody got
heresy.
sick and died too.
Well, there was that too.
Tons.
Yes. But those people that lived, they burned all those records, and in burning those records, it destroyed a lot of things that, while it may have been heretical, to their deity, the records also were records of history that could have, taught us more about who those people were.
There's a ton of assumptions you have to make with that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying
not as many as you think.
There's a ton of assumptions. The Mayans could have just been saying, "Hey, at 12 minutes after 20, take the bread out of the oven." For all I know, I mean, they didn't finish. It's hard to believe those guys were so advanced. They made such mechanical engineering feats. They had astronomical mathematical stuff, and no one bothered to write down in stone like they did on the calendar what it meant. That seems like
but they did.
Then how come everybody got it wrong?
You need to read Graham Hancock, Fingerprints of the Gods and Magicians of the Gods.
Okay, what I'm asking is, why was it universally accepted that it was the end of the earth? Was that what for? Why was that a big thing then? Why did everybody smarter than me get it wrong?
It wasn't not everybody getting it wrong. It was an assumptive made because people like to read headlines rather than read deep into the information.
That could be true. They still do that today with stuff.
Very true. They say, "Oh, well, the calendar ends at 2012. That must be when they thought the end of the world was." Well, that was the end of the calendar. That was when they said the end of an era.
They just ran out of space on their calendar.
They never once used the term end of the world. They used end of an era.
Well, still thinking that time travel's a big possibility there. I do.
Well, time travel is always a big possibility, but don't look at it as time travel. Look at it as dimensional travel, because like in the concept of ghosts or beings that you can only see out of the corner of your eye. Well, we're only four-dimensional beings, with sometimes maybe the possibility of seeing beyond the dimensions that we can see now.
But all I'm saying is, when you
limited beings,
when you say that a Greek dude looked up in the sky and saw something falling through the sky, it's just as likely to be an alien as it is to be a meteor, or as it is to be some time traveler who got it fucking wrong. It could be any one of those three. It's all I'm saying is, I agree with you. They describe things by what they saw, but you and I both have to agree they saw something.
Sure, they saw something, but why attribute it to deity?
Because they had no understanding of anything else. Some of them,
exactly.
This is after a few asteroids hit the ground, people fucking knew that it was asteroids. Nobody saw an asteroid hit the ground and said, "Hey, that's a chariot of God." Somebody went, "No, dude, that's an asteroid. We've seen those now. We know what those are. It's an asteroid." No one's doing that. But in the beginning, it's always comforting for people. It's always comforting for people to believe that there is a deity looking out for them, that there is some sort of personal relationship they can have. Now, you would say that's part of the problem, is that people rely on that, and that's not fact. I would contend to say that Jesus Christ pushes that, promotes that feeling, so that those real God, that it's a real God, a real Son of God, there's a real Bible and real Christianity and real people feeling it. I think he's promoting that for yeah, good, I'm glad you feel that way. I built that in so we could connect. Your idea would be that's more or less people kind of grasping at straws to make themselves feel good. If you didn't say that, I'm just assuming that. Yeah,
you're pretty on point there. My theory is that we the interconnectedness that we have with each other, the energies that we share, do exist. We do feel things, we do sense things. The mother feeling that their child is suddenly in danger, even though it's 2,000 miles away.
Yeah,
it's a very real thing. The connectedness we have to the earth is a very real thing, but we keep misinterpreting all of these things and applying them to a deity, whichever current deity is popular at the time. And in that misattribution, while it gives us a sense of comfort, it doesn't give us the answers.
So
what it does do is allow for a narrative to be told, and then power to be exerted over others.
But what happens when the mother realizes the son calls and goes, I was just in a car accident, I almost died, and she goes, oh my God, I felt that. You don't,
Yeah,
I'm not so sure you,
real.
okay, I'm not, and she tells you, well, that was an instinct brought on because of my faith in God and my motherness and my protectiveness and my bond with my child and my faith with my Lord and Savior. And you say, no, there's a scientific explanation.
Now you're taking it too far.
Well, what is it? What's the scientific explanation for that?
There isn't one, because we haven't studied the interconnectedness of human beings. We don't understand it yet.
So
we keep misattributing things that we should study to acts of faith and deity, rather than going, well, yeah, humanity is interconnected.
So you can't prove she's wrong. You just say her faith it is scriptural, it is biblical. I am bound to my family through my Lord and Savior, and that's her belief. And your belief is, we haven't figured out a scientific answer yet, but you believe that you will someday, more than you believe how she feels right now.
Correct.
Okay. Got to tell you, it's a pretty big leap. That's a pretty big leap.
So's deity, if you think about it.
Well, I don't know. There seems to be people that have. I mean, you talk about miracles and things that have happened, and lots of stuff has gone on in the Bible, in a historical context, that were miracles that can't really be explained by science. And unless you just discount, you could go to the New Testament and say the first books of the New Testament, they don't count. I guess you could say that.
Well, you also have to ask the question of why is every single thing in the Bible told in the part of a third person?
Everything's told in the there is Jesus talking about walking and doing and speaking.
No. Where's Jesus's book? Which one did Jesus write?
Oh, so if he didn't put the pen to paper, it does say in the Bible that all of the Gospels were breathed through God, or through man from God.
Everything in the Bible is told in the third person.
When I get to heaven, I'm going to be mad that God didn't take a pen and paper and say, all right, Genesis 1, here's how I did it. I guess he could have done that, but that would have been kind of tough. He could have read it down and said, God damn, I was having trouble with that platypus nose, so I just left it.
If he was here, and I'm not discounting the fact that he, there was a Jesus figure. There's actually, more than one religion throughout history that has a Jesus figure. But if he was here for 33 years before he was crucified, wouldn't he have had at least a little bit of time to write a note? Seeing as if you consider what some of the books are in the Bible, like the Epistle of Paul, the letter to the Corinthians. There was 2 letters to the Corinthians that were included. Wouldn't there have been a little bit of time for Jesus to take pen to paper or parchment and write something down?
Well, unlike you, I get to ask him one day why he didn't write stuff down.
Well, I'll give it to you like this.
All right.
Just like as was quoted in the I believe it was in John, where Jesus was quoted as saying, "Be ye hot or be ye cold? If I am lukewarm, I shall spew thee from my mouth."
Yeah.
Meaning, believe in him all the way, or not at all.
Oh yeah,
and I choose not.
That's for sure. Yeah, that's 100% right.
Yeah.
But he also points out that's okay, but there's also points in the Bible where he points out the people who choose not aren't ended up with him in heaven. He does add that along there in the same context. But you don't believe the first books of the New Testament, you don't believe those were accurate or real or written down correctly?
I believe that they were accurate in as much as they were recorded, but there again, what is our understanding of a book that's been translated more than 30 times?
Well, do you believe
so many different things that we've found that were mistranslated from the ancient Aramaic and from the ancient Hebrew?
There hasn't been one more book other than the Bible that has been translated so many times and so accurately by so many different people, so transcribed so perfectly. None other in any other book in the world does not even come close. Like 200,000 times it was
Inaccurately.
handwritten. No, that copied the same way. Let me ask you this as far as accuracy
True,
for people
but-
writing stuff down. Do you believe that Alexander the Great was a real person?
Yes.
Do you believe that he did the things that they say in the history books that he did?
Not everything.
Okay. What don't you believe?
I think that a lot of his stories were exaggerated. You know,
Based on what? Why would you think they're exaggerated? Because we've pretty much come to a conclusion in all the history books, even in France and the United States and Australia, when you read about Alexander the Great and his accomplishments, they pretty much align with historical versions of the regions of what they've written. Why would you think there's something not accurate?
well, like in particular, like the story of him actually walking the trail barefoot in order to atone for his sins, and his feet bleeding from doing so, and then them people scooping up the dirt of his blood and then selling it.
Yeah.
Well, after a short amount of time, which is just biology, a person's feet may crack and bleed, but it's going to harden rather quickly.
Sure.
And then they'll start getting calluses and things like that.
So
there's small exaggerations, there's large exaggerations. There's.
But you do believe that he
things
existed.
throughout history.
You do believe.
I believe he existed as a man.
Okay.
That he put his pants on one leg at a time, just like the rest of us.
Even though nobody saw him do it.
Well,
because
nobody
written
really
text,
watches you put your pants on most of the time, but
sure they do,
there.
and they don't write about it, which they should. I do it very spectacularly, but they do watch. what I'm pointing out to you is the first time that anybody began with the first writings we have of Alexander the Great were 300 and 400 years after he was dead. That's the first writings where people started writing down those stories, where the New Testament was 40 to 50 years after Jesus was here. But we discount heavily story after story after story in the New Testament, but yet we take on good faith 99% of the stories of Alexander the Great, which mathematically and historically just seems odd.
It's also like there's many questions, like how it says in the Bible that if you take the Bible as a singular testament, there's no less than 4 different times it says that there shall be no more writings after this. The first one is in Leviticus. There's also the question of why Revelations was written was actually written before John was written.
Yeah, but what the Bible says by nothing shall be added or taken away from this. And all word in the 2 Timothy, where it says all verses are breathed through God, nothing shall be added or taken away. It's like, hey, when we're done writing this, and I'm only on paragraph 6, but when I get to the last chapter, that's it. And now there's debate on what should be added into it and not. There's books out there that people say should have been in the Bible that aren't. I'll give you that too. There's a big debate on that.
Well, here's a question for you then. Thou shalt have no other gods before me,
for I
right. am a jealous God.
Yeah.
If he's God, if he's the God, omniscient, omnipresent, all-knowing, all-being, then what would he have to be jealous of?
The things he created, not worshiping him. That's why he gave everybody free will.
If he created everything, wouldn't that be a creation of God?
Well, so what? What does that mean? It's a creation of God.
The fact that, there's a thing though. What if there were other gods that do exist or did exist, and he was jealous of those gods, and you were worshiping those gods instead of him?
Doesn't seem logical to me. Where are those gods? What did they create? Where's their Bible? Where's their religion? What happened? Where's their earth full of people?
Religions rise and fall.
No.
They always have, and they always will.
I don't remember one ever saying that there was another God who created the earth, who did all this stuff, and Jesus died for their sins. I don't remember that. Now let me ask you this. Hold on.
The story of the Norse religions.
You're going to get too far down. Well, those are all primitive culture religions based on what they saw around them. You're talking about something that was scriptural, historically accurate all over the planet. Everybody was writing it down. It wasn't just a small Viking tribe on the coast of Iceland. What I'm getting at, what I'm pointing out,
there was more than just the Vikings writing it down, though.
That's what I'm telling you.
Cultures that would write down similar things.
What I'm pointing out is that you can't. You asked about why God would be a jealous God. So before you wander too far away from that, what would be the point of any God creating?
What were the other deities of the time, though? There was the Egyptian gods.
There wasn't any gods. I'm trying to tell you back in the beginning and answer your question. What would be the point of a God, of any God, creating a person who automatically worshiped them and loved them? I'm going to create people, and I'm going to program them to worship me, and they're going to do everything I say, and everything is going to be perfect. And he sets a world in motion where every creature on the planet and every person just blindly says, yes, God, I love you, God. Every day is you for God, God, God. Where's the satisfaction in that?
Story of the falling of the angels of heaven.
So
the angels of heaven fell from.
So if God creates people,
I grew up in religion.
If God created humans, and He told them, "I'm giving you the freedom of choice because I want you to choose to worship me." He can be a jealous God, and he can be jealous of things like that because He wants them to worship them of His free will. That counts. You can't just go to your wife and say, tell me you love me, and she goes, I love you. God, that didn't feel quite right. No, it's better when she just walks up and does it because she wants to. That's when it counts. That's what God was getting at. God doesn't want you worshiping. He doesn't want you loving. He doesn't want you talking about. He doesn't want you ignoring Him. He wants to be the number one guy, but it doesn't count if He programs you like a robot. You have to be.
Why are we applying such a trite emotion to an omniscient, omnipresent, all-knowing being?
Maybe
Jealousy
it's not a trite. You think jealousy is a trite emotion? Have you ever been jealous? Ever?
Oh yeah.
It's not.
And then I realized exactly what it was.
It's consuming, and it's hugely. It's a huge thing.
Why are we applying such a small?
Well, it's not
horrifying
small.
Emotion.
You just say it's small. God obviously thought it was big. He mentioned it.
Well, no, we're using small words to describe something entirely different.
Well, I've only got $3 words.
Part of my point. It's like the difference between describing a tower as tall versus majestic.
Now I think you're just getting lost on semantics because there's no way that you can say that if there is, maybe even if you're right, there was 20 gods. If all 20 of them said something, you have no business calling it trite. If there's 20 gods, you're not one of them. I say there's one God.
No,
and his.
But there again, why are we attributing the concept of deity to a being that we have? That we don't understand. Why are we attributing? That's
exactly why you call it a deity, because we don't have a complete understanding. If we could completely understand God, what would be that we'd throw it out the window? Like, okay, I totally get what you're doing here. A big part of it is the fact that He is a deity. But we're never going to understand 1/1,000,000th of what's going on with the deity. That's the whole point of saying, look, there's some stuff we don't get. We're trying to, but we're not going to fully understand this.
No, we're not. But there again, why are we attributing all these factors to a being that we don't know whether or not that's actually the case?
Because He said one. He said, I'm jealous. Don't piss me off. Don't put any other guys before me. We're using those words. We're attributing those things to the deity because the deity told us so. Because He said, by the way, here's some things you should remember.
Circular logic.
Well, it's circular logic. There's no other way to explain it. If He says it and we're like, okay, I'll do you one better before I got to go.
We were told He said that. We were told that. There again, we go back to the part where I said everything in the Bible is written in the third person.
So what?
We were told.
So what?
He said that.
So
what?
Yeah, I don't care that it was written in the third person. What is that? Does that discount it? I was told by the news today some things that Trump said. I was told by the news today some things that Putin said. I should just stare at my TV and go, goddamn third person reporting. Fuck it. I don't give a shit. I'm not listening to that. Just because it's third person doesn't discount it. It doesn't.
No, what it means is that you need to then do some research and find the information for yourself.
But you can't discount it. You can't dismiss it. And that's what you've done throughout tonight's discussion. You said, well, that was in the third person.
No, I'm not discounting it. I'm saying, I'm saying that the attribution of deity to beings that we don't understand, that we don't know, that we don't have enough information about, is a bridge too far for me. I think that there are advanced beings.
For you,
I think that they're.
But every time you say, well, that was written in the third person, my answer is going to be, so? Until you prove that it's not accurate, I know that's pretty simple, but when you say that, it's like, well, that was written in the third person. Okay. I mean, if it's different, if it was written in the National Enquirer.
Yeah, but we have so many other records of so many other things that tell so much more.
Well, I'm going to side with you on something, or I'll give you something to think about. And this is kind of siding with you on something about a deity. And you guys all know Iceman from Bodfish, who's the most intelligent guy I know. He is a Catholic, and he told me one time about being a Christian. He said, quit trying to have a personal relationship with Jesus. And I said, well, dude, that's what it's all about. You gotta get back to the center of your faith. And he said, you can't. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, think about the term deity. Think about a God and what that would be like in your wildest imagination. And I said, okay, I got you. He goes, how could you ever have a personal relationship with a deity? How could you ever share anything personal with a deity? I'm like, well, I feel and I believe and I love and he loves me and there's stuff. And he goes, think about what I'm telling you. If God really is a supreme entity, a supreme deity, it'd be like an ant trying to say, I have a personal relationship with the owner of the house of the backyard I live in, because he waters and he's got grass and there's food and I'm an ant. And look, there goes my human. And then we go by. An ant could no more have a relationship with a human that walks by than we can with a deity. That's what Iceman told me one day.
And he's fairly accurate with that. The only thing that I would question, with Catholicism in and of itself, is, besides the general questions, regarding deity and Christianity, is why does Catholicism feel the need to keep the 4 extra volumes of
get into a whole nother topic there. That's a whole other topic. But the bottom line is that the smartest guy I know believes that there is a deity. And he is absolutely the most learned doctor I've ever seen. All right, look, and I'm getting the signal. You and I have gabbed on too long, and we probably have. I get lost, and I'd talk another 2 hours if I could.
Well, it's good to talk to you.
All right, man. It's cool. We'll talk again sometime. You got your opinion. I got mine. We can come back in and lock horns and talk about more stuff. I have no problem with that. I'm digging it, man. The more stuff you say, the more it makes me think. I love that part.
Yeah. Look up Graham Hancock. He did the Netflix special Ancient Apocalypse, but he's actually written about 5 different books, too.
I can look up the video, but I don't read very well. Unless they make a movie about it, I'm stuck.
That's what Amazon Audible's about.
All right, man. Jason, thanks for letting us give you a call.
All right, you take care.
Talk later. Bye-bye. Why do you keep giving me the sign to stop talking?
Because we have another caller.
What's our other caller?
Gary.
Hi, Gary. Oh, he's not on yet.
No, you need to call him. He is ready.
He's ready. Gary's ready.
Yes.
Is Gary going to question my faith?
I don't know.
All right, let's see here. Don't. Oh, it's calling the same guy again. We don't do that.
No, you don't want to do that. We are calling Gary.
Calling Gary. Gary is in the 708 area code.
He is a truck driver.
903 5353. Part of the problem was with my call with Jason is what's written in the sheet from on OTR. It said Jason is an anti-deist. He believes in the concept of a deity and that the creation of religion is worship. That led me to believe that he believed that a deity created everything, but he didn't believe in the moral factor. And not that I was prepared either. I mean, I didn't do any homework, but I was wrong on what I thought he was calling about. All right, what do we got here?
Hello.
Hey, is this Gary?
It is. How are you?
Hey, Gary.
How are you, General?
Good, sir. Listen, make sure that I'm not on speakerphone and that I'm not on on a headset. No headsets. You can't use earbuds or anything.
Yep. Okay.
Got to make sure it's regular old phone call stuff, Gary.
You got it. You got it.
All right. Are we better now?
All right. We are now.
Okay. I have a note in front of me that says you've been watching the Charlie Kirk assassination conspiracy stuff. Is that right?
Yeah.
151, so that's 1351.
Yes, sir.
Is there something in the
my
background?
thing
Sounds like you're ordering a pizza or something in the background.
No. Oh. Well, I have to get to the. You too.
I told you you were ordering some McDonald's, weren't you, Gary?
No, I apologize. I'm just checking out of work.
Oh, okay.
So here's my thing, okay?
All right.
I'm thinking this Tyler Robinson character, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
His family are strong conservatives, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
That seems to be the case, yes.
Okay, but somehow he's in love with a transgendered female and his roommate. And so all of a sudden he goes and decides he's going to shut up Charlie Kirk because he doesn't agree with him. Which when he was alive, he shut down a lot of liberals because of his beliefs and his relationship with Jesus and God. And, I hate to bring up the God thing after that last long telephone call.
That's fine.
But do I believe, from 200 yards out, sure, this kid was experienced with a 30-06 or whatever gun he used. Do I believe that he hit him from, 200 yards under a tent where he couldn't see Charlie Kirk? Did he have help?
I don't think that it was 200 yards, but I think by the direction and everything they've looked at, they had a clear line of sight. He could see him because some of the video of some of the people that were filming from Charlie Kirk's point of view saw him get up and leave the rooftop, and they could see him with their cell phones. So I'm assuming he could see Charlie with his scope. That would make sense to me. The videos that I've seen.
I'm watching all these videos where there's a guy that's pointing, and then there's another guy that's making some kind of hand signals, and I'm just like, is there something behind this? And I'm I was trying to dig a little deeper. And,
sure.
Do
you remember? Did you listen to the last phone call? I was talking with Jason about how some of the things that people come up with are reverse engineered.
Yes.
That happens, especially in conspiracy theories, like what would happen with Charlie Kirk. People start watching video after video after video, and all of a sudden someone says, wait a second, look at that guy in the crowd. He was tapping 3 fingers on his left shoulder. And then this guy over here had 2 fingers on his knee. And I'm thinking it was a countdown. And they see things and they reverse engineer what they all mean, and then they present it as evidence. They say, well, clearly this was a 3, guy tapping 3 on his shoulder. This guy tapping 2 on his knee. And there's a guy across the yard. He had 1 finger on the side of his face. You know what that means? 3, 2, 1, shoot. 3, 2, 1, shoot. That's what it means clearly. Well, there's a lot of people that do that. They reverse engineer what they see. They make up a plausible explanation, and then they tell you to disprove it. They tell you to disprove that the 3-2-1 theory isn't actual. You're like, well, how do I prove that? You just made that shit up in your fucking head. I can't prove it. It wasn't true. You just made it up. How do you prove a negative?
Like a politician that's had a lot of positive influence on young Republican minds.
Yeah.
Has been blasted since the Charlie Kirk murder. Candace Owens, because of the fact that she's thinking that it's an inside job as well.
She came out with something the other day about the Egyptians flying into some hotel room nearby at the La Quinta Inn and staying for a few days. And I'm like, okay, but until you show me they pulled the trigger, that's an interesting coincidence. But again, they're trying to reverse engineer a lot of it. And I don't know. In my heart, I don't believe anybody had some big conspiracy to kill Charlie Kirk. I think that one or two guys, maybe he did have some friends helping him, but they just got pissed off at Charlie and, they silenced him. I don't know how far to go into the Israelis, the Egyptians. I mean, come on, man, you're talking over my pay grade, but it doesn't make sense. Right. You can come up with a reason, again, reverse engineer it. Somebody goes, you know what? Go through every tape we ever have on Benjamin Netanyahu. See if he ever said anything negative about Charlie Kirk. And one guy says, well, yeah, 9 years ago, he disagreed with something he said. There's our proof. 9 years ago, he had it in for Charlie Kirk, and now he finally took his revenge. There's our proof. No, you're making up pieces and putting it together. I don't know, because there's so many conspiracies about Charlie Kirk that guess what? They can't all be true. He didn't have six friends.
Can't all be wrong either.
Yeah, he didn't have six friends that helped him. He didn't have the Egyptians do it. He didn't have the Israelis do it. All these theories can't be true. You want to pick one? They can't all be true. But every one of these conspiracies, say, no, we have the exact proof. We have the exact fact. All right, well, I'm one of those guys who has to sit back and let it go. You're gonna have to show me something concrete, because all you have is a lot of speculation, and that's the way I view it right now. They have evidence now of his shirt exploding, and to me, it looks like AI. To me, it looks like they made that. I watched all the footage the day it happened. I never saw any close-up view of his shirt exploding with something built into his microphone until weeks later. Sure. Now that's all. Now those videos come out. People didn't see that day with all the cameras that were on them. Nobody slowed down their footage and went, holy shit, look at this. Come on. I just don't, I don't know. I'm from a different generation, man. I don't buy it.
Here's something else. Like me and my wife were talking about this the day that it happened. Charlie Kirk's wife was mic'd up and like posing and like talking to him, and that didn't seem like a grieving widow. It seemed like, I'm obviously she's going to be upset that he passed away unexpectedly, but it seemed like dramatized almost.
I don't think she was there. I don't think she was on site when any of that happened. I don't think anybody had her on a microphone because she.
Oh no, the funeral. I mean, when she was mic'd up and.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about there, right?
No, yeah.
You saw that.
People criticized her for, being too powerful on God and, too drawn to him and over dramatic. I don't know. Everybody grieves differently. I don't know. Maybe she was being a little bit plain to the crowd. Maybe it really bothered her that much that she was just hiding herself in her faith, and that's how it came out. I don't know. To me, it doesn't matter. Do what you want. I wouldn't. And even if someone says, well, she was being over dramatic. What? So now you think she was in on it? I mean, what are they getting at?
Oh no. I don't think she was in on it, but I mean, just like what was the whole point of that? To have it memorialized, or
well,
like the whole point of being mic'd and being.
The point of it was because that's the age we live in. That's the age we live in, and Charlie Kirk was a powerful person in the world. He wasn't just powerful in the country. When someone like that goes down, millions of people wanted to show up in Arizona. I know people that almost flew down there just to stand outside knowing they couldn't get a ticket just to be part of it. It's a huge thing. It was all going to be mic'd up. It was going to be camera. There was jumbotrons. Now, you go even further and say, well, they were selling Charlie Kirk merchandise outside the stadium. All right, maybe that was in poor taste. But so what? I mean, the whole thing needed to be on TV because people needed to be part of it no matter what part of the world they were on. That's just the age we live in. I don't think anybody was taking advantage of his death, like, oh, let's make some money off this. I don't feel that way.
And I had heard something that he always wore a bulletproof vest because he was he was definitely afraid of going into this Utah because of the strong like liberal.
I get what you're saying, but I don't know. I've probably watched 1,000 Charlie Kirk videos. Seemed to me he was always wearing a T-shirt. You can tell when someone's wearing a T-shirt over a bulletproof vest. I don't recall that. And if that was the case, if he was like always wearing a bulletproof vest, why wasn't he wearing one that day? Not that it mattered, where they shot him, but
right, 'cause he got
in the neck. But if he wasn't wearing one, if he wore one all the time and he was worried about it, who talked him out of wearing one that day? Now like talking about who talked Kennedy into taking off the bulletproof bubble off that Lincoln before he went through Dallas. I want to talk to that guy.
Sure.
I don't know. There's always conspiracies, and the longer it takes for people talking about it, the more funny evidence appears. I'm telling you that I must have watched for 6 hours that day, every single camera angle the news media could get their hands on. I never saw anything, even the zoomed in stuff. I never saw anything that showed that his shirt was exploding until days and days and days after. And then magically all these videos come out showing his shirt puffing up on one side. I'm like, and me, I just don't believe it. If people can say all the shit they want, like, no, doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm an old school guy. You got to have to prove stuff beyond a shadow of a doubt. I am not part of the generation of where there's smoke, there's fire. Not always. Sometimes shit's just smoldering, and that's all there is. And that's how I feel. But everybody, boy, there's some people that are very passionate about it. That's for damn sure.
All right, thank you for your time, General.
Hey, Gary.
It was something that I looked into and I've researched a little bit, and I figured, hey, maybe it's worth a text, blah blah blah.
Look, man, this show is all about letting you guys call in and talk about whatever you want. I really don't care. People are going to tell me, they're going to roll their eyes and go, that conversation with Jason didn't go very well. To me, it went great. I absolutely love talking to that guy. I don't have to win an argument. I don't even have to tie an argument. I just want to hear someone else's point of view and discuss it. We didn't solve anything here, Gary. You and I didn't solve anything about Charlie Kirk, but I enjoyed the hell out of talking to you, my man. That's what it's all about.
Thank you so much, General.
We'll talk again. All right, Gary. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. Is there anything else? Is there anything else on my agenda?
Look at your sheets. I don't know.
Well, I'm
only sitting here looking pretty tonight.
That's right.
It was all about you and the guests.
Well, you know what? There's a guy.
We have another guy?
I'm just saying, I got a guy sitting right here.
Oh, really?
He had something he wanted to discuss, not in great detail, it didn't seem like. He had a question about the Epstein files. Someone we've talked to before. I texted him today and said, hey, is it, you got a minute? Do you want to talk about it? I don't know how my show's going to go, but if I got time. And he's like, yeah, I'd like to just chime in real quick. So I'm going to give him a call.
All right.
Because he just texted me, he goes, I'm still here.
He sat through that whole thing.
He sat through that whole thing going, come on.
I guess we're staying.
All right, just for another minute. Let's check him.
Okay.
And we've talked this guy before.
It's never a minute with you,
I'm
baby.
Call Assist by Google, recording this call for the person you're trying to reach. Before I try to connect you, can I what you're calling about?
What the fuck was that?
What was that?
It's like, that's like an AI doing some shit on me here. I don't know, it's weird. I'm going to try that again. It said, this Google call is being recorded, but before I transfer you to the person you're trying to call, can I get your name and some information? That's when I hung up. That was my way of going, fuck no. All right, I'm going to try it again. Let's try him one more time. Okay, one more thing here. Don't. And his name's Rob. You know who he is. Robert Eckert.
Hi, I'm Call Assist by Google, recording this. Thanks. Connecting you now. The call is no longer being recorded.
What the fuck was that?
Hello.
What the hell, Rob, was the Google thing doing? Did you hear that, Rob?
I have a Pixel phone, so every call I get, it will screen it for me.
Wow.
It's
kind of annoying is the word I'm looking for.
People that I want to talk to, yeah, it's annoying, but for places that don't say anything, like a scam artist or whatever.
I get it,
that's what it's really for.
Well, that's pretty far out because my first inclination was fuck that. But now that you've explained it that way, I'm thinking about how many people would would stop calling me for doing that. That is actually, that's not bad because it says right on there, before I connect you, just let you know this call is being recorded and I'm going to connect you with the person now. And I'm like, that's pretty badass, man. All right. Well, you taught me something new, Rob.
I heard it.
All right. So we don't have time to go through all your stuff. We can get you back on the program before. You've been on here before. But what did you have to say? You wrote me something about the Epstein files. What were you thinking there?
What? No. Oh, sorry. Were you talking about the Epstein with?
Yeah. Do you have are you got me on speakerphone or headphones? Because it's really hard to hear you.
No, I was going outside, but I couldn't get the door open because my left arm is screwed up still.
Well, you're coming in clear now, real clear. Okay, yeah, you'd written something about Epstein, but I didn't go through the whole thing on there. What did you have on that you wanted to mention?
My whole thing on that is it's more or less just the Democrats. They wanted to get it released because they thought it was going to backfire on Trump, but I think it did completely the opposite. I think both of the Clintons are going to be on that list pretty big, as well as Obama's going to be on it.
Well,
I don't know. I'm just going off the fact that he was a Democrat. So
I got into a major discussion with a family member today, an argument about this very thing, because they released some more transcripts and they were redacted, and they're redacted by the DOJ, Pam Bondi, and Kash Patel and the FBI. So, of course,
what's going to happen?
Everybody says, well, Trump did that to protect himself. And you can argue, people will say, well, then here, I want you to listen because there's a couple of good arguments in there. One of them is one person who has read, Alan Dershowitz was a guy who was on the case years ago, and he goes, I've read the entire transcript. I've read all the files. I've read all of them. Now, he's not at liberty to pass along everything, but he said there are 100 names in there in the file of people that had nothing to do with Epstein's Island. And by that, he was saying there's people that just had lunch with him in New York. There's someone who had a phone call with him while they were in an airport in Ohio. And it's in there, that Epstein had lunch with Mr. Smith in New York. Now,
that's why there's
nothing in there. There's nothing about Mr. Smith. He didn't do anything. He had lunch with Epstein. He could have said, no, I'm not interested. I don't want to do business with you. Or, yes, we could, but that was just a lunch. But guess what? Now you can technically say, Mr. Smith is listed in the Epstein files.
He'll be redacted.
He could be redacted. Because he did.
A witness.
That's right. That's what they said. They said, we need to go in here, and people that had nothing to do with anything wrong, they just knew Epstein, or they talked to him, or they had a lunch or a dinner that had nothing to do with anything. We got to keep their names out of it. And people have said, yeah, that's probably a good idea, because
that's why there was one nay vote.
Right.
The one Republican nay vote was because of that or for that reason.
Now, you want to keep any of the victims that don't want their names out. Yeah, redact those completely. That's their choice. Absolutely. But now it comes down to no. Some people are saying every name, every person he even talked to, anybody he was associated with. And why? Well, they don't give a shit about the 99 other names. They're just trying to get in there. Aha. Trump's name is in the Epstein files. Well,
that's really all they want. But
in what context?
It's gonna backfire bad.
I do too. Now, here's why. And you're right. You're absolutely right. It's going to backfire. This is something super common sense that nobody wants to listen to. My argument today with the family member ended the same way, but I'm going to give it to you just like this. The Biden administration, the Biden FBI, and the Biden DOJ had access to this entire file for 4 years. They could read anything they wanted into it. They could read every page of it, no big deal. They didn't bring it up. They didn't want to turn it loose. And most importantly, and this is the big one for me, they didn't leak anything during Trump's campaign. Do you think that the Democrats, if they had something like, oh my God, I know we're not supposed to talk about this, but Trump was actually out of Epstein's Island. Here's the plane log. Here's the stuff. Here's some pictures. You don't think they would have leaked it? You think that the Democrats are such honorable, upstanding, law-abiding people? Those motherfuckers would have leaked that, and he would have never been president. If they had something
all over the news,
they would have said, we just got to find a way to leak this where we can say, oh, that wasn't our fault. That shouldn't have been leaked. That was wrong. We're going to find the person who leaked that information. But, well, now that it's out there, I guess we all know what kind of an underhanded, pedophile Trump really is. Here's the proof. Nothing.
It's going to happen completely the other way around.
Nothing happened on that, Rob. Nothing, man. Nothing came out. I'm curious to see if Newsom is going to go ahead and try to get the presidency. Because what? I'm telling you, I even told the family member that I was arguing with today. I go, I am so confident that Trump's name is only in there under stupid, superficial conditions. That his name is only in the file for things that don't matter, like 100 other people of things that don't matter, of no consequence. Open it up. Let everything out.
From what it sounds like, he's going to be in the file. Well, either way, he's going to be in it. We all know that. That's obvious. But I feel like he's going to be in it for defending certain people.
Could be. He also could be in there from the informant point of view, because he was giving them information as much as he could at the time. So he
was an informant too, wasn't he?
Yeah, well,
hasn't that been confirmed?
Not technically the word informant like the FBI used it. He was
DI.
No. They were a willing participant, a willing witness to things. He signed affidavits. He gave them as much information as he could. An informant kind of goes back in and deals with the situation. Informant kind of goes back underground. He didn't do that. He says, "Look, I'll tell you everything I know. I cut ties with the guy, and that's it." He didn't go back in and do anything like an informant would. He was more of a guy who's like, "Look, I'll tell you everything I know, write it down." He's more of a witness, would be a witness after the fact of stuff. That's the way I would describe it, even though people describe him as an informant. He did help, and he's in there for that. So when someone says, is Trump's name in the Epstein file? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, what for? I don't know. He went to McDonald's with Epstein one day in New York. I don't know. Nothing. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you, if there's some proof that Trump did something he wasn't supposed to and he was part of the underage girl thing,
we'd know.
I'm fucking pissed. I'd be angry. But I also know. I
feel like we'd know already.
We know. That's right, Rob. We'd already know. There's no fucking way those guys could hold back that. Do you think those Democrats would say, well, we have some damning information that would keep Trump from being elected, but we're not allowed to show it. We're not allowed to tell anybody. Bullshit. Fuck that. You're out of your fucking mind.
I'm laughing just because I feel like I'm rolling with you on this. I feel like if Trump really had a huge red flag, I feel like Kamala would have talked more on that than her word salads of a plant. No offense to anybody. I'm just saying.
No, there's no fucking way. It's like,
you can make 12 casseroles with any one of her speeches.
Yep. Hey, Rob, I got to go. We got more stuff to talk about, but we'll pick a different show. We had other topics. You and I were exchanging some text messages today on the shop phone, letting everybody know who's out there. 805-460-5603. If you got something to say, text us. I'll get you in touch with Shiloh Ferguson, our producer, and we can go from there. Rob, thanks for taking time out of your evening letting us call you again.
Likewise, man. Anytime you want to spend a few minutes talking to a goofy guy, I'm here.
You are officially the goofy go-to guy in the Off the Record program. Thanks, man.
Yes, where's my trophy? No, I'm just kidding.
All right, we'll talk again soon. Thanks.
All right, later, man.
And that is how you wrap up an Off the Record show. Okay. Are we done there? Is there anything else?
There's nothing else that I can think of.
Good golly, Miss Molly. If that's it, that's it. I guess we just call it a night then. All right, that's it. We got to say goodnight, Gracie. Get out of here.
Good night, Gracie.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Not sure where you're listening in from around the planet, AM, FM, Sirius XM, or perhaps you chimed in the Armed Service Radio Network. Remember two things in life. Number one, wherever you go, there you are. And number two, I'll catch you guys on the flip side, because I'm out, baby.